Hi, everybody. This is Mark Hurt with Center for Self-Governance. Hope you guys are having an amazing summer and enjoying your families and everything that's great about our country. In addition to all of the things that we're struggling through as a nation, that it brings us to the table and causes us to have a national discourse and even local community and statewide discourse. So our organization has asked me to make this post related to our state constitution training program that we've offered for the last 7 to 8 years and explain a little bit about that program and how we got involved in putting together a state constitution training program. It started back in 2009 when for me personally, I became politically active in the state of Tennessee related to the Bush administration's stimulus package in October of 2008. And that caused me to start researching the national government, et cetera, and their involvement in the financial things and the Congress and stuff, because I really didn't know very much about our government or our system of government. I didn't grow up in the United States. I actually spent most of my formative years in South Korea. And my Air Force career in Tokyo, Japan. And so most of my experience wasn't involved in U.S. politics or a U.S. government system, even though I served in the U.S. military. And so from 2009 on, my quest for understanding how our government works began. And I found that there were these things called state constitutions, and I didn't know that those existed. I had only been taught the federal constitution, and so I began to research the Tennessee Constitution. And shortly about late 2011, early 2012, created a civics program because I started realizing that there was quite a huge gulf in average Americans' civic knowledge regarding their local, state, and even federal governments. And that's where we've ended up with Center for Self-Governance. Now we've been to over 40 states, and we've researched up to 42 of the state constitutions. And since that time frame, we've discovered a number of issues in the state constitutions in relationship to the division that we're experiencing nationwide in each of the states, in relationship to particularly the meaning of words. I'll just give you one example. For example, most state constitutions say all political power is inherent in the people. And the word people under legal definitions can mean many things, but four in particular I'll give you is natural person, juridical person, artificial person, and legal person. And so what the average person in America thinks in terms of state constitutions, or I'm sorry, in terms of the word person, doesn't necessarily mean what it means in the legal definition. And so there's confusion there. And so for me, the journey has been about studying state constitutions and introducing the average citizen to their state constitution nationwide. Because I found that a vast majority of the folks that I've come in contact with, whether they were Democrats, Republicans, independents, or what have you, didn't even think or realize they had a state constitution. And so up until last year or so, well, actually a couple years ago, we started on this journey of teaching the state constitutions. And so we have what's called the Your State Constitution Study Program, which, by the way, if you go to our website, centerforselfgovernance.com, and you click on Boost Your Civic Knowledge, we'll be happy to go through the state constitution with you. And so for me personally, being a member of the Center for Self-Governance and studying the state constitutions, one of the things I've done in trying to improve our students' access to their state constitution, and then giving them insight into comparing their state constitutions to others is I started drafting what I called the 21st century state constitution. And the goal of that work was to identify all of the different kinds of tools and ideas that are in the various state constitutions nationwide. For example, Idaho has a unique provision in their constitution that says that regarding bond issues related to raising money off your taxes, that the legislature could be petitioned to limit the vote to those who actually own property, since the taxes would come directly from those who have property. That's unique in Idaho. Other states are unique, like Arizona, for example. It says in their Article 1, it says a fundamental recurrence to the principles of liberty is necessary to secure freedom, and that's not entirely unique to all of the state constitutions, but it is unique to mainly the Western constitutions, the Western state constitutions. And so my goal in writing the 21st century Constitution has been to introduce people to their state constitutions and giving them ideas from other states, whether they were positive or negative, and allowing people within their states to have the ability to self-govern and be a part of improving civil society in their communities. And so I live in Washington State, and there's a movement here which is called the 51st State. And it was a group of people who were disgruntled about underrepresentation from the west side of the state. And so they formed this group, and I was asked to help write their constitution. And so we started meeting back in November of 2017. And we would meet every Monday, and we would record the meetings on our Zoom platform. And I introduced the framework for the Constitution, this 21st century Constitution idea. And then it brought these folks who were from 51st State Liberty, I guess it's called Liberty State, brought them into this conversation. And it was very exciting, especially the first 5 or 6 months, because you could see their minds opening to this idea of being able to improve their state constitution. As we progressed through, things began to change, and in relationship to the direction that they wanted to go. And so, I mean, as of today, I'm no longer involved in writing their constitution. But I am still involved in pursuing a 21st century state constitution. And so I want to encourage you, if you're interested in learning about your state constitution and you're interested in improving your state constitution for the 21st century, finding ways to increase civil society and improve the balance in government in your communities, then check us out at centerforselfgovernance.com. Click on that Boost Your Civic Knowledge button. And I look forward to working with you through Center for Self-Governance in your state to find all the components that you need to make government work for you in your state. So the other thing I wanted to point out here is that the media and politicians, particularly like in the state of Washington and even national media, have been attacking these folks from the Liberty State movement in this 51st State movement in Washington State. And so we're going to be starting a podcast soon, so you'll have to stay tuned to it. We're going to be calling it Half-Baked News because they put out parts of the truth regarding these folks from the 51st State movement and the Liberty State movement, but it's baked in the excrement of their political bias. And so it's not 100% truth, it's half truth. And so we're going to start this podcast particularly regarding media bias as it relates, and starting with this Liberty State movement folks, because they're not giving the folks in that movement 100% 100% of the truth. I'm sorry, the people who are paying attention to that 100% of the truth. So, and then we're going to continue from there in relationship to a gentleman named Lavoy Finicum. And by the way, I'm here at his home in Arizona. I've been traveling with his widow, Jeanette Finicum, showing our film, Govern v. Governing series, part 2, Lavoy Dead Man Talking, which, by the way, if you're interested in watching episode 1, you can go to vimeo.com. Just type in Lavoy Dead Man Talking. Anyway, we're going to continue the Half-Baked News series discussing how the media has tried to connect these folks from the Liberty State movement to Jeanette Finicum and her cause with Lavoy Finicum. Basically, they're making the case that extreme ideas lead to violence and that somehow Lavoy Finicum is connected to promoting violence in the United States. And so I'm going to do some podcasts and share some never before heard audio with you that the media has not put out there. And I'm not sure, I don't really know why, but I know it has an effect on your ability to improve your state constitution. And so I want to correct some of the mistruths or half-truths, if you will. And so that podcast, Half-Baked News, will be coming out soon. And I'll be your half-serious host, Mark Herr. And we're going to explore news that's baked in the excrement of political bias and see if we can't start a dialogue to improve truth and reconnect the American people to their state constitutions. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I hope that clears up for those of you who are wondering our involvement in state constitutions and working to empower the average American, whether they are Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, 51st state, state of Jefferson, third state of California, whatever. Our concern is that the average American would be able to discover their state constitution and become part of the 21st century movement to make government work better. All right, guys, this has been Mark Herr with Center for Self-Governance. Look forward to seeing you guys out there throughout all our travels. Check out our website, centerforselfgovernance.com. If you want state constitution, press boost your civic knowledge. If you want to learn our applied civics program, click the button below that. It says advancing your political influence. And also, if you're interested in our documentary series, Governed v. Governing, part 1, The Bundy Standoff, go to YouTube and type in The Bundy Standoff, Center for Self-Governance, or go to vimeo.com and type in Lavoy Dead Man Talking. Anyway, hey, you know what? It's so good that I am not a paid journalist. It's really amazing to be on the road, volunteering my time, not having to be stuck pushing the editorial board's agenda, but being able to speak not as a professional, but just as an average American to average Americans, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, and trying to make the case to you. If you want to improve government in the 21st century, I think Center for Self-Governance is just for you. All right. See y'all later. Take care. Have a great day.